podcast again. I mean, at this point, I guess I'll just keep doing it. Welcome back, everyone. How's life treating you these days? Mine could be a little less of a bitch, but oh well. So, tonight I want to tell you a story about a girl who used to be different than the woman she is today. But at the same time, I guess it's still her. So, picture this, it's a kid in Italy. There's a contest on MTV. She calls in, answers the thing, wins the thing, and she does all this in English that we know it's not her first language. The way she does it, not to let panic take over, she just writes what she has to say so she can read it. And eventually, that's the thing she'll keep doing for the rest of her life in one form or another. She just writes it all down. She writes out what she's going to say, word for word, and she reads it out loud when she needs to talk on the phone. That way, she feels safe to speak. Dun dun dun, I know. The girl who writes is someone who got misunderstood most of her life, just like the girl who always smiles. And that girl is, in fact, yours truly. Because, yeah, I used to be the girl who always smiles, and I am the girl who writes. I know it's hard for people to understand what this means, so I'll try to explain it to you. There have always been two versions of me that people clocked early. There's the girl who smiles, and we'll talk about this a little later. And then there's the girl who writes, the one who reaches out, even to strangers, because she thinks that writing is what connects her to people. Not with a specific goal or purpose in mind. That was never the case, and it will never be. She writes because definitely just talking, writing words stays longer. I know most people think this is stupid. It's crazy. Someone says it's useless. Whatever, really. I don't really care. They even ask me, why do you even bother? Why do you write people that won't even answer? But most importantly, I heard, do you think you're special or something? And the answer is no, not at all. If anything, it's exactly the opposite. Not special at all. And do you want to have a laugh or two? Let me tell you the story. As a kid, I wrote to the Spice Girls. I know. The address was the fans club, I assume. I don't remember exactly how I would find the addresses, but anyway, months later, I get a signed copy of the VHS of a live show belonging to the Spice Girls, and they just, because I would always leave my address at the end of the letter, and so, in case they wanted to reply. I also wrote to the Hansons. Months later, I get a signed picture of them, and I also wrote to Lauren Graham, Lorelai from Gilmore Girls, and months later, I get an autographed photograph of her. I know, you can laugh, it's fine. I don't get offended or anything. People who had no reason on earth to ever know my name got my letter where I'd pour out who I was, why I was writing to them, why I felt connected or whatever. I would fold it up, send it across the ocean, and just let it go its way. And then whatever happened, happened. And it happens that sometimes the Fun Club, whatever, reply. I wrote other people too, and never got a reply, by the way. So it wasn't to get anything from it, really. I just wrote because my heart told me to. That's what I woke up one morning and I felt like writing a letter, and I would do it. That's it. So for years, I wrote letters to my friends all through adolescence. The real ones, the kind that you keep, the actual handwritten letters. With a few of them, it was an actual pen pal thingy, where we would just exchange letters at school because we were in different classrooms or whatever. And then with time, everything faded, obviously. Plus, with the advent of cell phones, don't even get me started. We just switched to text messages, SMS, whatever. They had to be short at the beginning because you would pay by character. I think it was like 120 characters max or something. And then after that, I wrote a few more letters as an adult, mainly to people I really cared for, family members even, or old friends and, partners, whatever. And then after that, I think the only time I picked up the pen and paper was during COVID. Because, when everyone was quietly losing it alone in their rooms or whatever, I reached out to a few selected people writing old school letters. Some of them wrote back, others just thanked me for the thoughtful gesture. And, nothing was expected really. Everything was just welcome, but I just wrote for the sake of it. I didn't want anything back. And then with social media, things have changed, obviously. I don't pick up a pen anymore, but I still find myself drawn to write messages of support, for example. I don't know, if someone I follow shares their struggles, for example, and they have a story on Instagram, I just write a little message of support. And yes, I do write people I don't actually know. And when people ask me why, because I can. And because this one time in Australia, when I lived there years and years ago, the driver of the truck that would take me and my colleagues to cater to Jewish families once told me, "Do you know that smiling at people can actually save lives?" He showed me this article about a man who was about to commit suicide one day, and he wrote the story for everybody to know this. And so he says that one day, the worst day of his life, when he thought he had nothing left to lose, he felt invisible and he just wanted to end it. This person crossed his path while he was waiting to jump in front of a train, looked at him, and just smiled. In that moment, he felt like a jolt straight to his heart. And instead of jumping, he started walking in the opposite direction of the train station. For the first time in a long while, he said, he felt seen. He wasn't invisible anymore. And that smile saved his life. So the Laura who always smiled when she was younger didn't have to hide, but life made her a little less smiley. But for whatever reason, that colleague of mine that day wanted me to know that. And so, because roaming around the world, always by myself, I definitely didn't feel like smiling anymore, although sometimes it would still happen. I thought about something that I could still do, even when I didn't feel like it, because people didn't have to see me doing it. And that was writing instead of smiling. So let me be honest though. I'm almost jealous of those kids who end up on the local news because they say local child writes to the famous XYZ person and then famous person grants wish, blah, 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 whatever. Yes, I'm jealous of that. I wish that would be me. But not necessarily for a wish of mine. I'll tell you more in a second. It's just because it's nice to see that someone writes to someone else and they get acknowledged. Now, here's where the people who think I'm a, idiot get a little surprised because they hear all this and they go, "Laura, honey, why?" Like, with this tone. And you have no idea what it feels like to check your mailbox every single day for years as a kid, hoping to find a letter addressed to me. Every single day as a kid, I would just go and open my mailbox. And I kept doing it even when I moved across the world. All the places that I lived in, I always check my mailbox. I think I stopped doing it probably a year ago or so because I stopped believing in receiving. But I never stopped believing in giving. And so those days that there was actually something in the mailbox when I was a kid, it meant the world does in fact answer sometimes. The world does see me. And that far away, impossible famous people are sometimes just people who write back. And if it's not them, it's their assistants, fine, whatever. And, I know that's how it was back in the days. I don't think today you still have clubs. Oh my God, I can't talk right now or anything. I have no clue how it works right now, but that's how it used to be. And that's what kept me going. And now I'll give you a big one. When I was trying to come back to the US after my graduate program, I had my whole heart set on it, and I wrote to, roll the drums, President Obama. Yeah, I did. I told him how much I wanted to come back here. I told him about my plans. I attached my resume to it and said plainly that I knew it sounded stupid and naive, but what's the harm in trying? So I wrote the letter and sent it to the White House. I still remember that day. I was living in Australia back then, and I was really sad, and I really wanted to get back to the US, and so that's what I did. Sometime later, I know that it's completely unrelated, I found out that I'd been selected to apply for permanent residency in the US. After years of trying, I was still on my F1 student visa, so still a legal immigrant. I had my chance, and of course I took it. Duh. Like, who's going to pass on this considering that I just wrote President Obama? Anyway, now, was that thanks to the letter? Almost certainly not. Like, Obama probably didn't really read my letter. It was probably just a coincidence. And, a little bit of luck and timing, whatever. But isn't it great to just dream and think it was because I wrote that letter? I'm just going to believe that maybe thanks to that letter, I visualized it because I wrote it down and it happened. So it's not that Obama read the letter per se, but maybe it's just that I put all the energy into it that the universe granted that wish. Go figure. I don't know. Could be all bullshit. We will never really know. Anyway, let's talk about the question I get. The one with the little frown attached. Like, why would you even do that? Why DMing people, even influencers or strangers? Why are you reaching out? For what? What's the goal? What do you even get out of it? So these questions assume that I'm trying to get something out of it. And that's so wrong. People think every time you reach toward another person, you must be reaching for something, that there's a bill attached, an angle, a hidden motive. And in my case, there just isn't. Most times I actually write, for my friends, to help them with something or to make them get a surprise of some sort. One time I reached out to a family member of a friend who hadn't seen them for years. I DM'd one or two of them. I introduced myself, telling that I was a friend of XYZ. I told them the project that I had in mind and asked them to shoot a video so I could create a longer one to wish my friend happy birthday that year from every family member and friends. They loved the idea. Eventually they sent me the videos. I made the longer video and everyone was so happy about it, my friend included. And this wouldn't have happened if I didn't write a few strangers a DM on Instagram. And then I recently wrote a famous company, a brand, a specific brand, and I wrote them about a friend who I think really deserves one of their products. And I tried to tell them the story of this person and why he deserves it, because he's a good person and he deserves everything. And I would hope the message would get to them. I would hope that they feel the same care and support that I do feel for this friend of mine. And I was hoping they would have that aw moment to grant that wish. And it was just a month or so ago. So I'm actually still waiting for them to reply, if they ever do. I guess, I'll never know for sure. But for these things, I am very, very patient and just like for the other things, I know that if it's for a friend, the universe will make it happen in one way or another. Does it sound silly? Of course. Well, I mean, maybe. Maybe it's my inner child doing this. Who knows? I think the reason people can't see it from my perspective is because society has gotten so used to everybody wanting something. Every message is a pitch, every kindness is a transaction, every reach a tiny grab, that a person who reaches out wanting nothing doesn't register as kind. It registers as suspicious or naive or stupid, like just like me. And they ask you, what's your angle? And I don't have one. Or, come on, what do you really want? I just want you to feel seen. If I sent you that support message, that's the whole story. But, anyway, we forget that, it is allowed to do something for no reason but unconditional love. And I know it's weird to say unconditional love, but I do feel unconditional love. That's also why I'm a holistic practitioner, because I want people to heal, to feel good, that's the unconditional love that gets sent towards them to feel better. But anyway, that's another story. If remembering that makes me the naive one, fine. I'll be the naive one. And naive or not, somebody in this world should still be doing things out of pure unconditional support with no second meaning and nothing to gain. And if there's no one else doing that, it might as well just be me. I don't care. To those confused by all this, because, they're used to hear me say that I hate people, you're right. You can be confused. But if you knew me well, you know that I don't really hate people for the sake of it. Let's say that, yes, I dislike humankind because the majority is simply clueless. And most of the people don't do anything to make this world a better place. So I've decided a long time ago that I will never be like those ones. I want to be aware of everyone and everything around me. I want to earn my place in the world, and I want to give back to those who deserve it. And so, you want to know what I figured out somewhere in the middle of making the show? Let's call it show, whatever, podcast. Just put it into quotation marks, whatever. What I'm sharing with you people out there, whether there's actually anyone listening or not, it is a letter of some sort. Every episode that I've done so far, I sit here, I open my heart to a microphone, and I send it out into the absolute chaos of the internet, And I hope somebody sees it. I hope somebody hears it. I hope this is the smile that prevents you from jumping in front of that fucking train. So even if there's no one, I'll keep doing it anyway. The podcast is just the grown-up envelope. And you, whoever you are out there in this noise, you are the celebrity I'm writing this to. And I hope you see me the way I see you, because you're worth it. You're worth every single second of this episode and beyond. It's almost like in Peter Pan, the whole thing. You just have to believe it. Not believe that you get something back. Believe that reaching out is worth it. Whether or not you do it for a reason, that's the trick. You just do it. That's the whole secret. So write that letter. Send that message. Tell that person what you want to tell her or him. Don't be scared to reach out. You can root for the stranger, not just your best friend. You can reach out if you feel drawn to, even when all the others look at you sideways and ask what your angle is. Just tell them, honestly, I don't have one. I do believe in unconditional support. And if you don't believe me, I would tell you to just ask around. Ask those who saw me support others just because. Even when sharing my music therapy sessions on social media before, during, and after COVID. Hoping whoever was out there watching my stories would find the same relief I did. And I was also told I'm full of shit because of this. So okay then, you can think whatever. But I won't change this side of me. I will always be the girl who writes, in one way or another. These past months, I had a few moments when I wrote letters, and I just left them unsent. I wish I did it, but I guess I was waiting for the right moment. And guess what happens when you wait for the right moment? It never comes. And you miss out on things. You miss out on love, you miss out on a lot of things. It may be too late for mine, but if someone out there has a letter to write, just do it. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? No reply? Big fucking deal, right? The point is, you don't write to get an answer. You write to send a message to you, to them, to the universe, to whomever. You just do it. And after preaching, I think that's it for now. From Night Night Aloras, that same podcast about everything and nothing, is everything tonight. And if your heart is heavy, write someone tonight, even if it's just to say goodnight. Buona notte.